In this video I'm going to be looking at 5 more photographic myths. Join me, roll titles. Hi, Brian James with you once again, and in this video I'm going to be giving you 5 more myths to be busted. Now you may remember a year or two back I did a video, which is a link above too, which gave you 5 myths about photography which I wanted busted at the time. Well, I've got 5 more for you now, and maybe even a bonus at the end, so keep watching, we'll see if I can hit the bonus. But let's get on the very first myth to be busted. In at number 1 we've got this. Better cameras make better photographs. Well, they don't. They don't at all. A good photographer will make a great photograph, irrespective of the equipment they've got. Yes, the equipment can make things easier to achieve. It can give you faster switching between different modes that you want to. It will take you to some of the fancy, exotic sort of shots, which are technically based shots, perhaps. But they don't make better photos. A good photographer can almost use a cardboard box with a hole in the front. In fact, some of the best photos over time have been taken on not much more than pinhole cameras or little box cameras. And the camera itself doesn't produce the image. You do. A camera can only be a tool which will help you get the right image. And the best photographers over time, they could have taken some of the photographs almost with anything. If you look back through the history of photography, the camera's developed, but there's always been fabulous shots from fabulous photographers who use their eyes, who use their imagination, who use their creativity to give a great shot. They use the camera merely as the tool. So number 1 myth to be busted: it doesn't take great cameras to give you great shots. Myth number 2, pros are better than amateurs. No, they're not. I've been professional, I've been amateur, and the thing with professional photographers, yes, they are good at what they do because they usually get paid for doing it. They've set themselves up in business to do that, but it doesn't mean to say they're a great photographer. What it does mean to say is they are good at providing what the client who asks for the photograph wants. And that can be very restrictive sometimes. If you're known as a head and shoulders portrait photographer, then that's what you're going to be doing. That's what the client's going to want you for. They're not going to be interested that you can take fantastic landscapes. They're not interested that you do architecture or street photography. They're wanting to know that you say you can do a portrait, they want that portrait done. They may decide on what style they want a portrait, they may decide on the lighting, they may decide on the location. It's up to the professional to hit that target, to hit those returns for the customer. But it doesn't mean to say that you're a great photographer. You could be a very one-dimensional photographer, but not good at the rest. And for myself, I had things I was really good at, and I had things which I'm pretty poor at. But I have been professional. But I've also seen so many extremely good amateur photographers who have jobs doing other things. They have full-time jobs doing something else. But as a photographer, they do some fantastic work. They can really pull the photos out, and they can do the product that they want to do from their own creativity. So often, an amateur photographer can be equally as good, if not better, than a pro. They're just not being paid to do it. And they're not being pushed into certain circumstances to do it in. So pro photographers aren't necessarily better or worse than amateurs. Myth number 3, editing's cheating. Well, it's not really. We've had still photographs for getting on for 200 years now. And from the very earliest photograph, the very first photographs that were taken, we had editing. Not sure about that? Well, let me give you this. What we used to do was coat a material with something like a silver nitrate, and that would actually respond to light. But what happened is, the more light which hit it, the darker it would get. So if we had less light, it would be very bright, very light. So we got a negative image. the first thing we wanted to do with that image is the pure image from the camera. That's what the medium sees, and that's what the camera's passed the light through to record. But it's no good to us. It's back to front. So the next thing we would do would be to do an editing process to take that negative image and create a positive image, a print. And that is editing. We get much more fantastic forms of editing, and as we've gone through the years, we've started doing things like dodging and burning, you know, where you're stopping some light getting into certain locations and allowing more light into others, so we can change exposure, either the whole print or just in parts of it. But it's still a form of editing. We touch up things. If we had something, a mark on the negative, which was stopping some of the light getting onto the positive, onto the print, we would actually alter it slightly. We would change how it came down. We could use a pen or a pencil and actually colour something on the negative to change the negative. As times have gone on, we've got very, very sophisticated. When we started getting into electronic media, we started getting things like Lightroom and Topaz and all these other fancy software things, editing the image, changing what we had. But unless you are taking a true photographic record for scientific purposes, is it cheating? If you try to pass something off which wasn't true, then that's fraudulent. That is cheating. But if you're just trying to make a more creative image, if you're trying to change the perspective that people have on something, if we're using it to change the colour slightly or make the colours more vibrant or more warm and inviting or cold, and that's allowed. Is it cheating? Not really, because the photograph is there and the end product is the photographer's right to decide what they want. So yes, editing is changing it, but is it cheating? Not in my book. Number four. Yeah, number four. Pros shoot manual. Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Yes, pros do shoot manual, and pros will shoot aperture priority, and pros will shoot time or shutter priority, and some pros will also shoot fully programmed mode. Really? Yeah, of course they do. When I was shooting portraits in a studio using strobe lights, I would shoot fully manual. It gave me what I needed to have. I needed to have consistency between shots. I'd have a light which would put a very, very short time flash. So what I used to do is I used to set my aperture to what I wanted the depth of field to be. I would set my ISO, my sensitivity, to give me the best quality print that I wanted to. I would set my speed to the maximum amount of speed that I could get and still sync to the strobe lights. I wanted very little light to go, if any at all, to be picked up by the sensor, so that when those lights came up, I had exactly the control that I wanted to, and I could adjust those strobe lights. For that, I needed manual control. But if I'm shooting continuous lighting in a studio, what I tend to do then is I'll use aperture priority. I will set it to the aperture I want for that depth of field. I will set my my sensitivity to what I want it to be to give the best shot. But then I'll usually allow the speed to alter itself. So if I have a slight variation in the lighting as I'm going from one angle to another, because it's continuous light, it's going to give me the best opportunity to get that a perfect exposure on there. So I'll shoot on continuous light in the studio, aperture priority. If I was going out doing a sporting event, then it may be the very time when somebody's jumping, doing a jump, for instance, a high jump or a long jump, and you want to get that action shot just as the foot leaves the ground, just as they're going over the top of the bar in the high jump. You could have, if you're shooting on manual, you would have set your ISO just as you want, you would have set your aperture just as you want, you would have set the speed, and say a cloud comes over just at that moment, just that very exact moment where you've got it set perfect, and the light dips. You've just ruined that shot. So by using some of the automatic features, auto ISO or auto exposure, then you can actually make sure you get that shot in the bag. If you're doing press photography and you want to get that moment somebody trips, that moment somebody climbs in or out of a car, whatever it is that you want to do from press. You may use fully automatic. You might actually set the program mode, and I've done that when I've been doing press photography in the past. I'll set it to program mode to make sure that I just need to point and click the camera, and I've got a really good chance of getting that perfect shot. So do you have to shoot manual to shoot well? No. Pros will shoot all modes, and so should you. Shoot whichever mode you want. The important thing is learn how to use the different modes to your advantage. Now don't forget, I have a bonus myth right at the end, so keep watching. But in at number 5 is this one, and it's a double-edged one. If you want to shoot great photos, you have to shoot RAW. Or, if you want to shoot great photos, don't use JPEG. Well, that's rubbish, in my opinion. Yes, shooting JPEGs is a lossy format, but if you're getting the results out of the camera that you want, you're not having to do too much post-editing, you're getting the exposure right in camera, you're getting the scene shot right, a JPEG is perfect. And it gives you the ability to save a lot of the fancy different styles and settings which a camera can offer you, which makes photography fun, in there. They can't be put onto a RAW shot. They come into the JPEGs. So if you're doing anything with different photographic styles in the camera, and you know the different types of photography which a modern camera can provide, you need to be saving in JPEG. If you're wanting to have latitude though, and to do big changes afterwards, especially in exposure, in post-production, then shoot RAW. If I'm doing a big professional job for somebody, I will shoot RAW. But 9 times out of 10 when I'm shooting for my own enjoyment, it's JPEGs that I use. There are advantages to JPEGs insofar as they take a lot less space up on the memory cards. They take a lot less transfer time when you're putting them onto the computer to do your editing. And they are very, very neat. They're good photographs. They tend to have vibrancy because there's a lot of post-production being put onto them inside the camera. A RAW photograph quite often looks unimpressive as it comes out. It's got everything there, but it hasn't been altered because our eyes see a scene a different way to the camera does. But it gives you a great deal of latitude. So if I'm doing a shoot for somebody and I want to make sure that even if there was a mistake made, I can probably get back from it, I will shoot in RAW. If you're doing sport photography though, that extra data, that extra amount of data which a RAW file has, can be 10 times, 15 times as big as a JPEG. And if you're doing burst mode, high-speed burst mode, you'll find that the camera buffer will probably fill up before you have a chance to actually take the shots that you want, or you'll miss that next shot because you're having to wait for the camera to catch up. That invariably doesn't happen with JPEGs. So, to get great shots, you use both. So if a client is paying you to do it, it may be very worthwhile to save a RAW file. If it's for yourself, try JPEG. Or if you have the opportunity to do it, save both. Most cameras will save in both RAW and JPEG, and then you have the best of both worlds. If you're shooting on a camera which has got dual cards, put JPEGs onto one and RAW on the other. And if you've got a fast card, put the RAW onto that one. But shooting JPEG or RAW doesn't make you a better photographer, it just gives you options. Now thanks very much for watching this video. Before I move on to my bonus, here is a wonderful list of wonderful people. And those wonderful people are my Patreon patrons. And they are some of the people who really keep this channel going. And I thank them very much. Now if you'd also help to keep the channel going without being a Patreon patron, there is a link below if you'd like to buy me a one-off coffee. I really would appreciate that because it keeps some of the costs of the video productions down a little bit. So I really thank you for that. And also, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please think about becoming it. Just click the little link below. It's just down there. Give me a thumbs up. It really helps because of all my viewers, half of you aren't subscribers. But if you do subscribe to the channel, if you give a thumbs up, it gets YouTube to spread these videos so more and more people see them. Anyhow, on to my bonus. And it's probably the most important myth on here. And that is that kit lenses are useless. Kit lenses are rubbish. You've got to have pro level lenses. And that's absolutely not true. Like I said in the very first myth on this one, the camera is not the important thing. The camera is merely a tool. Now obviously the better quality we can get, the better image we can have. But kit lenses quite often become derided. I mean, the kit lens on this is a little 12 to 32 f3.5 to 5.6 Lumix pancake zoom. Wow, that's a mouthful. But basically it's a kit lens on the lower end cameras, the more compact cameras. But the results from this lens are absolutely fabulous. When you had the old 14 to 42 kit lenses coming with the Micro Four Thirds cameras of a few years ago, they were actually really good lenses. One of my favourite lenses is a 12 to 60 Lumix lens, the 3.5 to 5.6. That came as a kit lens with a lot of cameras. But also, you can have high-level lenses come with cameras. The G9, for its kit lens, had the 12 to 60 millimeter f2.8 to f4. Great lens, made by Leica. Absolutely superb. Or, if you think about the ultimate for me, when the EM1 Mark I came out, its kit lens was the ubiquitous 12 to 40 f2.8 Pro Olympus lens. That was its kit lens. You can't ask for better than that. Still one of the very, very best lenses for Micro Four Thirds cameras. So never put a kit lens down, never deride a kit lens. It's the lens which is available at the time which you can use, and there's been some incredible photographs taken with the least expensive lenses. So a kit lens is equally as useful as any Pro lens. They're usually also slightly smaller, slightly lighter, and considerably cheaper to replace if you damage it. So thanks very much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed those 5 myths to be busted, plus the big bonus one at the end. Till the next time, keep on taking your camera out, keep on having fun with your photography, and I'll see you. Bye-bye.